I am Rob's Rogues. For 3 years, I've been reviewing action figures on YouTube, but I've decided I can't continue to review the things the way I've been reviewing them on YouTube. Well, I can, but I've got to expand my horizons. So I've decided I'm going to continue to read comic books, and I'm going to read them as many as I can, and in different locations that I can. I can't be the reviewer that I once was. I must be willing to take reading comics to the next level. Well, okay, well, maybe not here. But I think you get what I mean. I read one book, and then I read another. And then after that, well, I think you know what's...
What are you doing?
I'm reading something else. Yeah, what he said. Hello everyone and welcome to Rob's Sunday Comic Corner. This is episode number 2. I want to apologize about last week's episode. I had a little blurb on my Facebook page about the delay in last week's episode. I really wanted to try and get that. I had made mention on there that my grandfather had some health issues and he suffered a slight stroke. Is kind of what they're referring to it. It was kind of touch and go there for a while. So obviously with Valentine's Day, my wife and I's Valentine's Day's plan had just ended on Sunday. And while we were having our Valentine's Day, we found out that he was going into the hospital late on Valentine's evening, as it were. So as we were heading home, we stopped by the hospital, and I'm happy to say that he's doing much better. He's in a nursing home right now, being able to recoup, and his speech is coming back. But part of that is just going to get better due to the stroke that he had. So I know there were some people out there praying and wishing my grandfather well, so I just wanted to say that. I really didn't mean to have the second episode delayed, but as I always say, that family does take precedence over that, so hopefully you guys are okay with me having a week gap in between. But because of that, some of the books that I was reading that were going to be last week are here. So I do have a couple books that are current, but as I said, with the whole point of this show is to really just keep me on task of reading the amount of books that I'm reading. I enjoy reading all of them, but the big thing for doing this is to be able to talk to you guys and just talk to somebody about the books that I'm reading, and hopefully you're reading some too, and we can have some discussions. Feel free to put in video responses to this particular video as a way to just kind of have a dialogue back and forth, comment on the books. If you don't like something, don't just click the thumbs down button. Let me know what it is you don't like. Was it the particular book? The last video we were really in tight on my head, so I thought I would kind of change the scenery a little bit. And I kind of want to make this more of a laid back rather than try and do a proper review and have everything all in the right angle. You can probably tell I'm off center here. It's just kind of how my Sundays are. I just kind of wanted to kick back, read some books, catch up on some DVR. I'm not going to try and do a whole lot of fancy editing with this, although as I'm saying this right now, I'm having ideas of what I can hopefully get some pictures of the actual images to come in, but hopefully the amount of time that I won't put, to make this not sound bad, but I don't want to put as much time into this particular series editing different things together, because for me that's not what it's about. It's hopefully a more of a laid back scenario. We're in the upstairs part of my house here. Right behind me is my review room where you watch a lot of my reviews at. And I thought about going back in there, and I thought it seemed too structured, like I was trying too hard to make it look a certain way. Some of the reviews that I like of people talking about comics, they're sitting in front of their wall of comics, or they're on their couch, or they're on the side of their bed in a more of a normal place where you would read them. So I thought about moving it to my downstairs living room on the couch, where my wife is on one part of a love seat and I'm on the other part of a love seat, and she's doing scrapbooking and I'm reading comics. We're just kind of spending time together, just talking about whatever it is we're talking about. So anyway, let's get on with the show. I Ironically, last week I started off with a Batman and Robin comic. This actual week, a Batman and a Batman and Robin comic did come out. Being that it was my first episode, I had to start off with the Batman and Robin title. I'm going to get, somebody had asked me, what about the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman? Are you reading it? Yes, of course I'm reading that. I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do that. If I'm going to wait till that's all out and that story is done. I think next week is actually the next issue for the Batman title. I think it'll be issue 40, I think, and the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo run. So with just starting this series, if people haven't been reading it up till now, I don't kind of want to gloss through it. It is a really good story, so I might wait until the final chapter's out, and then I can just talk about it as a whole. So the first comic that we're going to be looking at today is Batman and Robin 39, and this came out this past Wednesday, if I remember correctly, being whenever it is that you are watching this video. This continues the Tomasi and Gleason run. We are now 2 issues past Robin Rises, which I'm still working on that really quickly. There's a lot of issues to cover, and I'm doing a lot of editing with that. So I'm also hoping to give some time between that story to hopefully give you time to read it. So when I do the special edition of that on this show, that you will have plenty of time to have read it. So again, as I've said in the previous episode, spoilers if you have not read any of these books, and you can click down here and see the list of books that I'll be talking about today, and hopefully I will have the timestamp. So if you're like, oh, I haven't read this yet, then you can move the slider accordingly to the time code. Maybe you haven't read Batman and Robin yet, so maybe you want to skip ahead. So hopefully, knock on the banister here, that I will have that on there. If not, somebody please call me out on it. So again, I'm not going to say spoilers after every single issue I'm talking about. So this is your last chance. If you don't want to know anything, skip ahead. So Batman and Robin 39. This finds us 2 issues past Robin Rises, and Batman and Damian are getting more accustomed with Damian having his power set. This particular issue goes clear back in referencing some villains and some events that have happened clear back in the very first part of the run in the New 52. Issues 1 through 5, I believe, there was a set of villains that these villains were kind of coming out of the Batman Incorporated phase, and Damian has rounded them up, and Damian is really asserting himself kind of away from his father, of being a force to be reckoned with in Gotham, and people are still, the villains are just now slowly finding out that Robin has superpowers, and at one point they're all kind of tied up very fast and beaten up, including Killer Croc and the Penguin. There's some other Z-listers that are in the original first part of the run of the New 52 that Damian has wound up, and they assume that it is Batman that has brought them all here and has tied them up, and they find out that it's Damian. He quickly takes off with them all tied up in one giant bundle and starts to fly up to the sky, and is basically threatening them that they need to stop or cease and desist, I think is what Damian ends up telling them, that it is going to he's going to bring judgment upon them, or something along the little snarky comment that Damian would make. And as he's flying up to kind of give them a scare tactic, he has a hiccup with his powers and begins to fall and drops them because they're too heavy. Batman is right there in the Batplane to catch them, and Damian kind of regains his power set and is hovering, and Bruce tells him they need to land and have a discussion. And then we get a little field trip with Damian and Bruce doing a little fishing thing, as Alfred is trying to get them, that they've spent so long apart since Damian's death, that Alfred is like, you two need to go out and do something as father and son. So they both quickly realize that it's Alfred that put them up to this little fishing expedition, and Damian says, Father, how long are we supposed to be out here? And Alfred says, until we catch a fish. And Damian quickly says, well, I wish you would have told me that sooner. Takes his fishing pole, throws it in the water, and harpoons a fish, and then picks up the boat and flies it back to Wayne Manor. We move through a sequence of Damien being put through a barrage of tests of in the Batcave with Alfred and Bruce kind of administrating them, and through shock and stun guns and machine gun bullets, they can see that Damien should be showing some pain indicators, and they're asking him, "Are you feeling the tasers? Are you feeling the bullets?" And he says no. And Alfred points us out to Bruce and says, "This is going to be a problem." And Bruce realizes it's something they're going to have to address. There's another incident with Damien, which is really kind of cool. Just another group of people trying to terrorize Gotham City, this time in a tank, and Damien flies right through the barrel of the tank and quickly takes them out. Batman and Damien have a moment where Damien is frustrated with the way things are going, and Bruce is constantly trying to tell Damien, "We need to find out about your power set." And Damien starts bashing his head into the side of the tank, telling his father he can't feel anything. He can't feel the pain that should be there with him jamming his head into the side of the tank, and bullets bouncing off of him. They're tattering his clothes, but he's not, even if he is like a junior Man of Steel, he should still be able to feel something, and he can't feel anything. This prompts a trip to the Watchtower, and Damien gets to meet Shazam for the first time, and gets reacquainted with Superman. And there's a funny moment with Damien that, in typical Damien fashion, Superman kneels down to Damien and says something to the effect of, your father was very worried about you, and we're happy to. And Damien cuts him off and says, "That's fine. Those 9 words will do. Just quit talking to me." And Damien still putting himself up above here. A funny moment in the book is Shazam trying to converse with Damien and saying, "Oh, it's cool. You got powers too. You can fly. And when I turn into a superhero, I turn into this old man. It'd be so cool to be like you, to be in a 13-year-old, to be in my 13-year-old body and be a superhero. You're 10 and you get to be a superhero." And Damien is putting his hood up over the top of his head, like, "Just please, Shazam, shut up." There is trouble off the coast of Japan, and the Justice League has been called to investigate, and the other members of the Justice League aren't there, so it's just Superman, Batman, and Shazam. And those 3 members of the Justice League are needed, and they're getting ready to take off, and Damien assumes that he's going to be left behind. And Superman asks Batman, "Well, I assume Damien's going to stay here." And Batman says, "No, Damien's going to come along." So it's going to be interesting to see if where this is going to go. There are not going to be that many more issues left in the Batman and Robin title. It'll end in June, and this will become Robin, son of Batman. So it's interesting. This is one of the first hiccups that Damien has had with his powers, that he lost the ability to fly, he lost his super strength, even for a brief moment, but this may not be a full power set that is going to stay with Damien. Moving on, Batman Eternal. Since we missed a week, we have 45 and 46. I'm just going to kind of put these two together. I know the last episode I really kind of spit out a whole bunch of Batman Eternal, and I didn't really want to gloss over too much. I mean, we're getting close to the year-end mark being in March, so in a 4 or 5 minute spot, I spit out almost a whole year worth of Batman Eternal. I've been really surprised that Eternal is being able to hold, I shouldn't say my attention because I'm reading books every month. The story has been really good all the way through. The art, on the other hand, there's been some fantastic artwork, and then there have been some real clunkers. Excuse me. And those have been the issues that have been a little bit more cumbersome to go through. Sometimes it's weird. I can forgive maybe sometimes a poor story a little bit in spots, but if the art is really fantastic to look at, it makes the story a little bit better. But if the story can be written by a Pulitzer Prize winner, but if the art is so hard to look at, After a while, I just find myself wanting to skim through. So a few books here or there out of, what are we at? What I say, 46 books now, have been a little bit of a chore to read, but the story has been pretty good. Yes, they're stretching out a lot of plot points to make it go a full year. We've kind of moved in from thinking that Hush is part of it. Batman has been tracking down this Dr. Milo that kind of has something to do with the Arkham Asylum crumbling and being destroyed, and Batwing and the Spectre, Corrigan were trapped in Arkham Asylum for a while out of the rubble. Batwing is coming to terms with these specters and spooks and ghosts are still kind of affecting and haunting him, and is kind of blaming Corrigan, aka the Spectre, for that. And Corrigan is basically saying, I'm sorry, I can't control what the Spectre is doing, and I kind of brought this on you. I should have told you more about what we were dealing with. And out of all the characters in the Bat family, the Batwing storyline with the Spectre has really kind of seemed the most disjointed. It's kind of starting to fit more into place out of these two issues, 45 and 46. That this Dr. Milo is somehow a part of this too, and Batman is starting to see apparitions, and the GCPD is still coming after Batman. Hush is still in the Batcave and kind of mentally tormenting or prodding at Julia Pennyworth. She is kind of trapped in the Batcave since the top of Wayne Manor is now Arkham Manor. The only way that she can leave is to kind of go out through the bottom entrance of the Batcave, and she's kind of stuck there, being the eyes and the ears of the rest of the Bat team. So she has this constant nagging voice of Hush that he has been locked in a containment cell inside the Batcave. Through Corrigan and Batman and Batwing talking about Dr. Milo and finding out that there are some Middle Eastern ties, Bruce, with the help of Julia Pennyworth, start to put together that the line of Arabic, which I'm not even going to remotely try and pronounce here, it's kind of written in Arabic in the comic, which was cool, but you are told that it means the demon. And quickly Bruce realizes where he has to go. And he said, of course, the one single person that could orchestrate all of this, the framing of Commissioner Gordon, terrorizing Gotham City, getting to know every nook and cranny about Batman, being the red herring of Hush, being thrown off the trail. Who else in the Gotham City or Batman's Rogue Gallery knows Batman better than Hush is Ra's al Ghul. So Batman realizes he has to go confront Ra's al Ghul. And this was an interesting issue. The thing I like about Batman Eternal is that they are really pulling from the whole history of Batman. And in this, we actually get the phrase from Dr. Dark. I believe I've got a set of notes here. Dr. Dark and Lord Death. You want to talk about some Z-list Batman characters making their appearance. We have the cream of the crop in villains and the lowest of the low villains throughout the Batman Eternal series. And they ask Batman, are you eternal? And Batman is questioning his own morality through Dr. Dark's cloudy haze, much like Dr. Milo using this kind of cloudy, smoky apparitions. And in this haze, Batman sees various stages of his current life and then kind of beyond him. He sees Dick Grayson dressed as Batman. He sees Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond, and he sees Damian dressed as Batman. And one of the images he sees is Gotham City on fire, very much like the very first issue of Batman Eternal. So we're kind of starting to see some of these seeds planted here. Batman, of course, is able to take out Dr. Dark and Lord Death. This was a villain I had to constantly look up. Yeah, Lord Death, so there's one for you. A villain that cannot die, which I think is probably paralleling a little bit of Batman being eternal and Batman can never die. But Batman is constantly breaking his arms, his neck, his legs, his head, and this Lord Death is not dying. But again, it's part of this. This is the interesting thing about this issue. It's these weird cloudy hazes that Batman is fighting through, and I don't know entirely if what he is seeing is actually there. He gets to confront Ra's al Ghul, and this is the first time in the book that brings us up to let us know where we are continuity-wise, that it references Robin Rises. It references the last time that Batman and Ra's saw each other was Ra's al Ghul falling over the end of a pit, an icy pit in the Alps somewhere. Not the Alps, in like Tibet. I'm losing my train of thought. In Tibet, and that Ra's had to crawl out of this icy tomb, and that Batman had left him for dead. So this has me thinking that we're at issue 46, that if they're referencing this right now, that I have to think that Damian at some point is going to make an appearance in this book, even if it's small. They mentioned Talia in here. So the weird thing in the book, it almost appears that Ra's has Batman under control. He tells Batman that I'm going to defeat you when you are at your prime, when you are at your peak, when you think that you have beaten everything, that you have won. That's the time I'm going to kill you, because he's upset that they don't mention Damian, but the things that Ra's was trying to do, Batman stopped him from doing. And at one point, Batman ends up kneeling to the ground, and the word balloons are kind of garbled a little bit to make it look like Batman's under the influence of Ra's al Ghul, and he puts his hand on his shoulder and tells him to go and wait for me, and I will come get you. And I think it's like, I will come get you. We also have a little beat with Selina Kyle and Poison Ivy. Selina Kyle is again in control of the Gotham Underground, and is also starting to see that she may not have a tight of grip on the underground as she thinks. There's some things coming in and out of the harbor that aren't on any manifest, and she is not aware of what's going on, is asking her father if she is in control of all of the underground activities, why are cargo ships coming in and out of Gotham that she has no contact with? And that villains like Mr. Freeze, Joker's daughter, the Scarecrow, Bane are all getting these things that they want, like a freezer, fear toxin, venom, dolls that the Joker's daughter is going to use in some fashion. And the last panel is Poison Ivy pruning plants in her greenhouse and saying, at last, everybody is getting the things that they want. So the thing with the Batman Eternal, it's really stretching, I should say stretching, it's pointing things in different fingers going, aha, it's Hush, okay, it's Ra's al Ghul. Well, Selina has a hand in this, and now Poison Ivy. So I want to say Ra's al Ghul is in control of everything, and he's moving all of these chess pieces, as it were. But seeing Poison Ivy in the beginning of 46 and the end of 46, talking about letting Gotham City grow back to its fullest potential, that sometimes after a fire, plants, like in a forest, plants can finally thrive and grow again. A fire will destroy huge mountaintops of forestry, but sometimes as that fresh soil from the fire, plants can grow again. So who knows, maybe it's Poison Ivy that's in control. So I still don't look at this and go, okay, yep, it's going to be Ra's al Ghul. I have been guessing wrong every bit of the way and thinking, oh, it's Hush. And people were saying, geez, clear back in issue 22, I think, Hush made his first appearance, and Hush proclaiming that he is going to drag Batman down, and people were saying, geez, we've got, almost 40 some or 30 some odd issues left, and you're already proclaiming that Hush is going to be the villain. So Hush has been counted out. Now it's Ra's al Ghul, and we're into issue 46. There's not that many more issues to go. I think it's going to go up to 52. So the end of March, we'll finally catch up with real time in the Batman Scott Snyder comic, because that comic is going on after the events of Batman Eternal. So in that book, we haven't seen Commissioner Gordon. There's still members of the Bat family we haven't quite seen yet. So Eternal has me eternally optimistic on how this story is going to play out. So hats off to the writers. It's been a constant guessing game of who's in charge. And yeah, I know with 50 some issues, we're stretching out things quite a bit, but I'm hoping it's going to be a huge payoff and not be a letdown. So let's continue on. All right, that brings us up to the Justice League, issue 39, and this concludes the Amazo storyline, or the Amazo virus storyline, written by Jeff Johns and illustrated by the beautiful art of Jason Fabok, who has been on Detective Comics for a little bit. He was on Batman the Dark Knight while that was out for a while. He was on for quite a few issues of Batman Eternal, and I wish he would have stayed on Batman Eternal. But it's really cool to see him in the Justice League and getting to draw all the members of the Justice League. This has been a really good series, and it's wrapping up to the big knockdown drag-out fight. The only 3 Justice League members that are left standing that aren't infected by the Amazo virus, are Wonder Woman, Superman, and Lex Luthor, and Captain Cold. So those 4. Captain Cold is Justice League member-ish. He's more of security tail for Lex Luthor, or a security detail for Lex Luthor. So he has appeared on missions here or there, but he always refers to himself as Lex Luthor's bodyguard. So while the last issue saw all the infected members of the Justice League, Flash, Shazam, Power Ring, Batman, Aquaman, and Cyborg, and then a whole host of just other human beings that have some type of a power set because of the Amazo virus that is going around. Wonder Woman is ending up fighting off everybody by herself to try and give Lex Luthor and Superman time to figure out what they can do. Lex Luthor is able to tell from the previous previous issue, that there is something in Superman's DNA, and he thinks he can reverse and re-engineer a cure for the Amazo virus. They have samples from patient 0, and putting in with Superman's DNA, Lex Luthor had already infected Superman and saw that he didn't have, he wasn't affected by it, so he knew that he had the antibiotic, you know what I'm trying to say, antibodies. Oh, so bad. See, I told you this is going to be really professional. In his blood. In a kind of a cool scene, Lex Luthor says, "I don't have a kryptonite scalpel. I'm not sure how we're going to get your blood out of your system." And Superman holds his hand up and actually uses his heat ray and kind of burns a spot on his hand that opens up some blood, and actually, kind of gross, ends up pouring blood into Lex Luthor's hand. And Superman is holding the door shut so Lex can synthesize a cure for everything. And of course, there's a whole horde of infected citizens trying to break down the door, while on the outside of the lab, Wonder Woman is fighting off the whole entire Justice League. Patient 0, the very first infected, and I have his name written, I hope, somewhere here. Pardon with me just a moment. Dr. Armen Lazarus, I think is the guy's... Lakis, I think is the guy's name. I did a Google search. It didn't ring any bells. But he is patient 0, and he is very much like Amazo. He can call and bring out any type of superpower, be it flight or heat vision or any type of form, a Green Lantern power ring. He can use any of those, and then each of the Justice League members have a twisted version of that power, and plus all the other citizens. So Wonder Woman is fighting them all off. Just as she's about to be overtaken by them and the Flash is getting ready to pummel her, Captain Cold shoots a cold blast, and all of them kind of get stunned for a moment. Because as Patient 0 comes in contact with a new superhero, he will absorb that power. And since Captain Cold isn't using a superpower, he's using a gun, they quickly realize that Cold is the one thing that all of these people and these, I must say the Super Friends, the Justice League and Patient 0 cannot replicate. Superman hears this and quickly flies away. So between Captain Cold and Superman's cold breath, they're able to freeze all the Justice League members, and all of the other citizens. This gives them gives Lex a chance to synthesize an antidote, and cures can be start to get administered. The story jumps a few months ahead. Most of all the citizens have throughout the country have been given the cure, and then some of them have some lasting effects. So the Justice League is going around and telling some of these other now new metahumans to come forward with their power set. Some aren't, so we could get some new characters coming into the DCU potentially because of this Amazo virus. And something that I half wondered, since there was an Amazo robot early on in the Justice League, Patient Zero has actually become Amazo and refers to himself as Amazo and looks very much like Amazo would. So he's not an android, but he's human-esque. So I thought that was kind of telegraphed to us that this Patient Zero was the very first infected, and he cannot be cured. So much like Superman can't be infected by the Amazo virus, Amazo now cannot be cured. So his family was told that he is dead, and they're keeping him in, I'm not exactly sure, I think it might be Bell Rev, I think, or maybe a Star Labs facility. So after all the Justice League members are finally back to normal, we get a small little scene with Cruz, who is the Power Ring, and the Flash talking about her power set, that she hasn't had very much time being Power Ring, and is trying to figure out how she's going to be able to wield this power. When Hal Jordan comes out from the side of the Watchtower and says, he's here to help her with her Lantern-esque powers. And the bottom part of the caption reads, "The Dark Side War Prelude is the next issue." So that's the next big thing that DC has been talking about, other than Convergence, is the Dark Side War. So I'm half wondering if they're going to do the Dark Side War leading up to Convergence, and then we have the whole Convergence thing. So that gives us March, April, May, June potentially to try and squeeze that in. But for a couple of months, 2 months while Convergence is going on, there won't be any main comics. It'll just be the Convergence comics. So I'm not entirely sure where the Dark Side War is going to fit in, if they're going to try and squeeze this in before Convergence, or partly beginning during or before Convergence and then after Convergence. So this has been a really good story, and Jeff Johns has been writing the Justice League now since the beginning of the New 52, and with Jason Fabok on here, it kind of feels like the very first run with Jeff Johns and Jim Lee. We have some stellar art here back on the Justice League. So if you haven't been reading it, I would recommend checking it out. It's been really good. And this Amazo storyline has been one of my favorites of the Justice League books so far. Continuing on to a Green Arrow. Now we're actually up concurrent with Green Arrow, since we did a nice chunk before with the Arrow writing team, and that concludes or continues on in here. I believe this is part 5 of the King storyline, written again by the Arrow TV show creative team. And I don't think they're going to continue on after Convergence, which I think I said in the previous video. I'm a little sad by that. I really like reading this. It does, just the way the characters are written, it feels like the Arrow TV show, having Felicity and John Diggle in here. But I don't think Felicity and Diggle are going to continue on after Convergence. I was really kind of hoping that they would. But the Arrow writing team is going to be leaving the Green Arrow book after Convergence is over. And I think I said before, I kind of knew that was probably going to happen. They have their main duties of writing a TV show, so probably trying to do a TV show and overseeing The Flash, and then writing the Green Arrow New 52 book. I thought at some point they're going to have to drop something. Obviously they're going to drop the Green Arrow book, but it has been really, really good. We have a cheetah here on the front cover. Oliver quickly finds out that King has taken all of his money, that Oliver Queen is broke once again. But King has framed Felicity Smoke as the one that has robbed Oliver Queen. Diggle is quickly to point out that Felicity came to them because she was a computer hacker. So she was already doing some sketchy things that ends up getting arrested and gets put in a maximum security facility, a super villain facility where the cheetah is, and evidently Felicity ended up doing some underhanded things to get Cheetah arrested once they actually that put her there. So Felicity and Cheetah have a little fight. But Oliver says, I can't let somebody like Felicity go into jail. She's part of this team. She's going to have to help get my good name back, that she can hack into these computer systems to show that King is really trying to he's taking over the city, like I said before, but doing it very underhandedly, and is going around to hospitals, killing the sick, trying to kill the sick and weak of the young citizens of Star City, because he said it's pulling down resources. So if we can get rid of the sick people in the city and all we have are the healthy people, that's more revenue, that's more money we can put into infrastructure. So this is the atypical villain that's, I'm going to kill people. So I know that sounds really corny and cheesy, but they end up breaking Felicity out, and Arrow ends up putting together his own Arrow team. And I've got my phone here, and Team Arrow, Team Green Arrow, is going to consist of, now watch, my phone is not going to cooperate. The team at the very end of the book, Arrow says, Green Arrow has told everybody, well, since King has his own network of people and his own gang that are really corrupting the city, I'm going to put together my own task force. And his task force is going to be Arsenal, Batman, Cupid, Dart, John Diggle, Katana, Lex Luthor, and Steve Trevor. And Trevor ended up putting just a little bit of, or was a little bit of help in arranging to get Felicity out of the security facility. And it was a nice series of panels telling Oliver that he only has a matter of minutes to be able to get from one end of a location to the other. And it was a nicely drawn pace. So it's going to be kind of cool to see. I would imagine this is probably going to go one more issue, maybe two, of the King saga. And we don't know who King has on his end, but it's been a very well written book. If you've liked the Arrow TV show, this is not the Arrow TV show, but it has that feel. When you read Felicity Smoke, when you read Oliver Queen, when you read John Diggle, it feels like those. So if you're somebody that's like, oh, I'd like to see Bruce Wayne, on the Arrow TV show, check out Green Arrow, because you get a Bruce Wayne in there, you get Lex Luthor, you get some of your normal DC characters, because it is a DC book. So moving on to the next set of books. Justice League United. Now I don't have the 0 issue here, but this is going to go up to issue 5, and I think we're up to issue 9 right now, or yeah, I believe it's 9 right now for the Justice League United. This comes out after the events of Forever Evil, and the Justice League America has been disbanded. Vibe ends up leaving. Simon Baz is gone somewhere. He's in the Green Arrow Godhead war that's going on right now. Catwoman, as we know, has left. She's become a crime lord in Gotham City. And I'm trying to remember, Katana and Vibe, if I've said both those, have gone as well. I let it slip my mind that Katana is also part of the Arrow team that is going to be taking on King. So she's been kind of popping in and out through the DCU. Vibe is almost just completely gone, which I can't believe I'm saying this. It's kind of a shame, since Jeff Johns put so much thought into bringing Vibe back. I would have Vibe and Katana both had comics. I wasn't surprised that they didn't do very well. I didn't see me rushing out to my local comic shop and going, oh, I want to read about Vibe. But having him in the Justice League America book, I thought was actually pretty cool. I recently reviewed Vibe and Katana action figures, so I'm not sure what the plan is moving forward for those two characters. But out of that, we were left with Stargirl Green Arrow, Martian Manhunter, and Hawkman that were left from the Justice League America. And because that they were being used by Steve Trevor in the United States to be the watchdog of the Justice League, they decided to go to, of all places, to get away from the control of the U.S. government to Canada. Yay, Canada! So the book at one point was going to be called Justice League Canada, just to kind of let us know that that's where they're out of. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going through each of the 6 issues, if you count the 0 issue, but they come in contact with the new members of their team. Adam Strange, and I am forgetting her name right now. She is a Native American here, and I'm going to open this up again, very professional for me to do so. I'm totally blanking on her name. She's only recently made an appearance, as far as the books that I have read. Mayambin, if I'm saying that right. She has a Native American ancestors, and which really, I thought that was kind of cool to have. I don't want to say Apache Chief, but I don't think there's been a character like that since the Apache Chief in the Super Friends, where you kind of can pull in from the Indian and Native American culture and the spirit world, and the wolves and all of that kind of stuff. That there is somebody represented in that culture, which I think is kind of cool. She has been the latest addition. The basic story has taken them to Ron, where Adam Strange is with his fiancée, and the world of Ron has trying to be a peace-loving, I would say not community, a peace-loving planet, and there's been constant wars going around the whole solar system of their galaxy. So they have decided to create the perfect citizen of all worlds. They took a little bit of DNA from every part of the galaxy to hopefully tie in the galaxy, that they could have a central being that is part of every nationality, part of every culture, part of every world. So hopefully this would stop this global warfare that is going on. And of course it goes sideways. Somebody gets the upper hand in this, and the creature is being called Ultra. And this is a baby that is growing really fast. And a bounty has been put out to kill the citizens of Ron. And who is the big bounty hunter? It's Lobo Light. So I was hoping to see the normal DC Universe Lobo in this, but we get Lobo Light. Hawkman ends up coming in and fighting Lobo, and that I don't know how I feel about the Lobo character. I think a lot of people really don't care for the fake Lobo, although the DC comics community, Dan DiDio himself, has basically said, no, this is the real Lobo. The other Lobo was the fake Lobo. So it's not in this book. I can't remember exactly what book it was, but Lobo ends up fighting Lobo. And the Lobo we all know and like ends up getting killed, so there now is only one true Lobo. I've been kind of a big supporter of the New 52, but that's kind of one of those missteps that hopefully with Convergence that'll get retconned and we will have our normal looking Lobo back. But Bythe, or Brian, I believe is the guy's name, ends up stealing the baby, and is going to use the baby for his own benefits. That if he can teach this child to do and act and to say the things that he wants, he will have somebody that is of all citizens of everywhere, that basically the whole entire universe will have to bow down to him. So the Justice League United, end up calling themselves the Justice League United after this battle. Supergirl and Hawkman end up coming into the battle late. Hawkman ends up sacrificing himself and is killed towards the very end of the fight. Because of this, Stargirl says, they've all become this new team. They're teams from different parts. Jeff Johns, Martian Manhunter, John Jones was part of the Justice League at one point. Green Arrow tried out for the Justice League. 4 or 5 of them were already part of the Justice League America, and they said it's time to stand united as a team. The newest member, and I have already forgot her name again, I think she's got some cool power sets being Native American, but the name is just really really hard to remember. I'm probably going to have something going to scroll right through here, but it's going to say her name, as I am totally forgetting it right now. But I think there's some things that she is connected with into this spirit realm that are going to influence the Justice League United. Animal Man is part of the team, which I think is really kind of cool. I've never really read any Animal Man. He and Green Arrow banter back and forth quite a bit, and it's just been a really, really fun read. Adam Strange is somebody else that I have hardly zero knowledge of. So as much as I like the New 52, this does make me want to break out my new DC encyclopedia and kind of read about Animal Man. I know that he has a great series of stories written by Grant Morrison. And the last issue that I read here in issue 5, as the Thanagarian warriors have taken Hawkman's body back for a proper burial, there's some time that has elapsed, and Green Arrow notices that Hawkman's communicating device, or his locator, has gone off, and they thought it had been destroyed. So a team has been dispatched of Stargirl, Supergirl, and Green Arrow and Animal Man to Thanagar to see why this beacon has gone off. And in the meantime, Ron has been able to be saved. Blythe has been captured, or excuse me, hasn't been captured, but has escaped with the help of Lobo. And while they're trying to figure out what to do with this child, a Martian Manhunter says since he has created a telepathic bond with it, he can help the child until Ron is able to figure out what the best method is to do with this child, since Ron is the one that actually spearheaded creating this Ultra, as it's been referred to, this child. And the child is growing rapidly. And the child is about 3 weeks of age, but looks like it's about 3 years old, and is starting to speak as if it's in its 30s. So it's very cognitive, and it's telling Martian Manhunter something is coming, something is coming. And crashing through the Justice League United headquarters is the Legion of Superheroes, making an appearance in the New 52. So I have that issue just downstairs. I didn't get a chance to read it here. So the annual for Justice League United is Justice League United and the Legion of Superheroes. So I'm really curious to see what the Legion looks like in the New 52. So hopefully in the next issue I will be able to continue on through Justice League United. It's been a really good story, and was one that after Forever Evil I was kind of going to just drop Justice League America, but the Justice League books were the books that I read as a kid, where I wanted to buy a Superman book, and I wanted to buy a Wonder Woman book, and I wanted to buy a Batman book. The Justice League books are the one my mom was like, well look, all these heroes are all in one book. So it kind of puts me back in that frame that yes, I'm reading the Green Arrow comic, but I get the Green Arrow in here, I get Hawkman, I get Martian Manhunter, Animal Man, who I've never ever read before, so having him in this book, and Mayambin, there I remembered her name, is a new superhero that's created. An interesting thing, Adam Strange is still on Ron. He and his fiance are not able to occupy the same space together because the Zeta beams that they were traveling back and forth in Ron ended up kind of splitting their atoms a little bit. They were put back together, but they're like magnets. If they're too close, it'll cause this explosion and they'll both die. So they both have to be separated. Adam Strange had to stay on Ron, and Adam Strange's fiance is back on Earth, so they're having this, uh, lost love across, stars. Oh, so it's been really fun. It's sad that I've had this a huge stack of books. It's only till recently that I've read through these. So the leader is Martian Manhunter, but Stargirl is starting to get a little bit more assertive, and Green Arrow is kind of putting her down a little bit and saying the reason people don't take you seriously is because you're acting like the teeny bopper. You're smarter than that. Nobody is ever going to listen to the things you say if you don't stop being Courtney, as he is drawn like doing this motion, and say drop the Courtney persona and be Stargirl. If you want to be heard and you want to lead a team, you have to believe in yourself. And then Animal is quickly there to try and put Oliver Queen in his place. So it's been a really, really fun series, and you can tell that Jeff Lemire, I believe, might be from Canada, because you get to travel through a lot of different places in Canada and read different locations where they're going to be. So it's been a really, really cool series. So I have about 4 more issues to read to be current with Justice League United. And I'm not thinking that Hawkman is going to stay dead. I'm sure while part of the Justice League United team is traveling to Thanagar, that they're going to find Hawkman alive and well. While Hawkman was fighting Lobo, Lobo had cut his hand off, but the nth metal is able to regrow and regenerate body parts for Hawkman. So I would assume that the nth metal is slowly regenerating Hawkman's body. I haven't read that far yet, but the most recent issue has a ghostly image of Hawkman on the front cover, so maybe that's the issue he comes back on. We have, let's see, 2 more books to go through, so let's get into those right now. Teen Titans! So bad, sorry. Teen Titans was a book that, if you've watched my Teen Titans overview that I did last year, basically talking about the whole 33 issues of Teen Titans, written by Scott Lobdell. That was somebody that probably should have not written Teen Titans. Some people can get the teen angst and can understand and relate with teens. Scott Lobdell is in his 50s. Not saying that somebody in his 50s are me, 40s, or he may even be in his 60s, but he didn't write the Teen Titans well. It did not feel like the Teen Titans. And I was somebody that I stayed on through 33 issues of the Teen Titans, and because it was my only fix to be able to read Red Robin. Tim Drake does not have his own book in the New 52. If he did, I probably wouldn't have read Teen Titans, but I had never really read Teen Titans before the New 52. I started going back through and picking up some of the Jeff Johns runs, or even the Marv Wolfman and George Perez run of the Teen Titans, and then later called the New Titans, and I'm enjoying those. But this was something I was really excited about, is reading a Teen Titans book, and it was just really, really rough to do. So when this book got relaunched, I was really, really happy they were doing it. Beast Boy in the New 52 was read for a while, so something that Pfeiffer and Rocafort, which I absolutely love Rocafort's art in the Teen Titans book. He was on the very first one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 issues, and then he must have taken a couple issues off for a while. But it's nice that he's back on now to wrap up their current storyline. The continuity is basically staying the same. Kid Flash is gone. He's in a prison somewhere. Con-El was killed, and then there was an alternate universe Superboy, of an evil Superboy of Lois Lane and Clark Kent, that was parading around as Superboy. So we're not sure if Con-El is going to come back or not, but it's been in the solicitations that Superboy is going to be coming back to the Teen Titans, and a rift is going to happen in the Titans. This is probably going to play into Convergence at some point, and I think they have said that a member or two of the Teen Titans is going to leave. I'm liking Teen Titans, but I kind of hope it's Red Robin and he'll get his own book, maybe with Harper Row. But I'm really enjoying Pfeiffer and Rockefort and Brown's run on Teen Titans. It actually feels like the Teen Titans. They're getting the Teen Titans, whether you like the New 52 or not. Bunker is written very well. The team currently consists of Bunker, Raven, Beast Boy, Wonder Girl, and Red Robin. And this is the team currently at the moment until their most recent edition that I'll talk to in just a moment. And it's really written, I don't know if you can see this very well, hopefully I'll put up a better image here, but as you're trying to tag somebody on Facebook, if my face here, they'll go, oh hey, that's Rob. It'll put a little mark around here. It's putting the teens under a microscope of being superheroes and living in the day and age of technology where everybody has their phone taking pictures of everything that you're doing. And the teens are trying to be superheroes, but also being teens themselves and living in this computer technology world, and how are they functioning, and some of the things that they're doing. There's one incidents where somebody is doing racial slurs and doing a little gay bashing towards Bunker, and Bunker quickly beats the tar out of him. Of course, somebody is right there with a camera, and Beast Boy is telling Bunker, we can't act like that. This is something Red Robin does not want us to do. We have to be thinking there's constantly somebody watching. And I think that's kind of a pointing it right on the nose of maybe a teen that is reading this book, or just even somebody like me. You're watching it here on your computer or your smartphone or your tablet or your iPad or whatever it is. That once it's on the internet, it's out there forever. So I like that sensibility, that if there is somebody young reading this book, or even somebody like me that's reading this book, you can kind of see how our young people and the things that they have to deal with. And granted, we also have superheroes here in this book. So this has been a really pretty cool read. Even for people that are, idolizing and worshiping the Teen Titans. There is a rock band that is all goth and dark, and, Raven just wants to go to the show to just be a part of the show. And somebody says, oh, you're my inspiration, and I write all these songs about you, and they're trying to use her spells and incantations that Raven would use as song lyrics, and Raven's trying to tell them, the things that I'm doing are a matter of life and death, and you are treating this as if it's a song lyric. So it's been a very, very cool read. The biggest part of the story that is going on right now is involving Manchester Black, that is trying to use Star Labs to pull in the Titans to be part of their army's the wrong word. Is trying to do some underhanded things with the Teen Titans, and I'm not entirely trusting Manchester Black at all at this point. And Manchester Black is somebody that sadly I don't know much about pre-New 52 at all. I know that was he part of the Elite? If I'm trying to remember that correctly, somebody can let me know in the comments below. A new member of the team has been brought on, is Power Girl, and I've got her right here, running side by side with Wonder Girl. She was working with the original Power Girl as they were headed back to Earth 2. She told Karen Starr, that told this version of Power Girl, that basically, I give you the right to use the Power Girl name. In the explosion that led Kara to go back to Earth 2 along with the Huntress, it caused, and I'm trying to remember her name here. There we go, those fancy little editing here so I can flip through the book really quick. No relation to Britney Spears, I don't believe so, but basically Kara had said, since Tanya was just coming into her power set, was like, you can be the Power Girl. There'll be no Power Girl on this Earth since I'm returning back to my Earth to protect. Take the Power Girl name, and I think had even written and signed off and had it copyrighted and everything, basically saying you can use the Power Girl name. She was actually, it was a funny part in the Titans book that, as Raven had her own fan set and people were wanting to take pictures of Beast Boy all the time, changing into different animals, and of course Red Robin wants no part of it because he's always, about the mission. That Wonder Girl had this Wonder Girl set of groupies that constantly just followed her around, and Tanya was one of those. There was a set of metahumans that realized that they had some powers and were causing some destruction, and as Wonder Girl went into the fight and the rest of the Titans were brought into the fight, Tanya ended up joining as well, and the Titans quickly realized that they found somebody else with a power set and started to slowly bring her into the rest of the Titans. Which brings us up to the most recent issue, number 7 here. And I'm going to actually open this. This is one of the more recent issues that I read. And it was nice to see Rocafort is back doing the art on this. I would love to see some Rocafort statues of the Teen Titans. Manchester Black, the events from this last book, there was an explosion that really leveled parts of New York, and there are some underground caverns and tunnels that are a giant ticking time bomb that is underneath New York City, and the Titans are trying to get down to the bottom of the bunker to defuse the situation. So even though Manchester Black is leading them to that area, I'm not entirely sure what to really think of him at this particular time. The Titans end up saving the day. They take the group of soldiers and get the area back under control. But it's almost like the events that have happened through issue 1 through issue 6, and actually not 6, 1 through 3 kind of are replaying themselves, and we get this burnt, charred figure coming out of the wreckage. So I'm not entirely sure who that is. Maybe it's Superboy. I'm not really sure. But I am thoroughly enjoying Teen Titans. I think this should have been the Titans run right from the get-go. I think Scott Lobdell's Teen Titans really soured some people on how the Teen Titans were perceived early on. So if you walked away from the Teen Titans early on in the New 52, believe me, I don't blame you one bit. It was a rough 33 issues to read. There were some decent issues in that 33 issue run, but this new set, these 7 issues of the Teen Titans, has been really, really good. So I don't want to say it's been on par as other things pre-New 52, but I'll say it's parallel. I think Pfeiffer is getting the writing down for each of the members, and it feels like there's 6 distinct personalities, and Beast Boy actually feels like Beast Boy. He'll change into different animals constantly, or different things: a bug, a mouse, a squirrel, a giant whale at one point. He flies in as a little bird, and then to kind of land on top of a bunch of soldiers at the bottom of this bunker, he turns into a giant sperm whale and just totally flattens all of them. So there's humor in this as well, which Lobdell did not get and did not write very well. That it feels like they're dealing with teen problems, and there are things that are funny here, and they're teens living in this modern age. And of course Red Robin's the one that's like mission, 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 and it feels like Tim Drake. I'm finally going, somebody makes Tim feel like Tim. So if you're out there going, I miss Red Robin, they've totally lobotomized who Red Robin is, I think the Teen Titans and then the few people like Tomasi, when he gets a chance to write Red Robin, actually feels like the Tim Drake that we know and love. So I would highly recommend this if you're a Tim Drake fan and you're kind of like, oh, I miss that Tim Drake in the New 52. I think for the most part, this is as close as he's ever been, and it actually feels like a Titans book. I don't know how many times I can say that, but I'm very happy with this series. So now that I'm current on the Titan book, the next a month from now when the Titans book comes back out, because this issue 7 just recently came out, um, I can have more of a discussion on that particular issue. But this was just kind of a quick overview of my thoughts of the Teen Titans up to this point. And the new Power Girl, I like her. I think she's pretty cool. And there's some diversity in there. We've got a gay character, a gay character. We have some women on the team. We have an African American on the team. So everybody's starting to be represented in this book, and it's a really good book. So I really recommend it. The last book for today, which is turning into night, I'm kind of losing my light source here, so things probably look a little dim, is Batman and Superman 19. We talked about it the last issue, or the last episode of the show, and this book also came out this week, so we are actually current up to Batman and Superman in Superman's Joker. I don't think it's the official title of the series, although that's kind of what it was billed at. We find out here that, and I'm going to need my book for this one just to make sure I get the character names right. This opens with Kandor, what Kandor was. And that's kind of cool to be in the New 52, that the citizens of Kandor in the New 52, which I think is kind of the same in the old continuity, while they were on the planet Krypton, were really the heroes and the champions. And as Jor-El was somebody that was saying, that the planet's going to explode, they weren't really kind of wanting to believe that. And of course, we know that Brainiac ends up taking Kandor and bottling the city and miniaturizing it. That it's going to be Superman one day that is going to save the citizens of Kandor, or as they refer to here as Kal-El is going to save. Superman gets caught into a battle with Brainiac that stops Superman from trying to free the citizens of Kandor. And because of Earth's yellow sun, much like Superman, they have super abilities. So that is the bullet that was being used to kill people of Earth were actually Kandor citizens. With the help of the Atom, they are able to have they have the bottle city of Kandor, but they can look inside and see that there's all this type of destruction that's going on. That somebody has obviously been breaking into Kandor and taking Kandorian citizens and using them as bullets, like I said. So they've devised a plan to use Supergirl, Superman, and Batman to go inside of Kandor and shrink themselves down using Ray Palmer's shrinking technology to get in and use to find out what is going on inside the city of Kandor. But because of this, Kandor is still operating in Kryptonian time and space. So the powers that Superman and Supergirl have are very diminished while being inside the bottle city of Kandor. And the whole Bat God thing is kind of expanded upon in here, that Lois, is kind of concerned about all of them going into Kandor. And she's ready to go put on a belt too, and Superman tells her, no, Lois, you can't go in here. Supergirl and I can withstand the the mass pressure that is going to be put on us, and pressure, I mean like literal pressure, since the gravity inside Kandor is a lot stronger than it is on Earth, that you'd be crushed. And Lois is like, well, Batman's going, and Superman says, well, it's Batman. He's going to go because it's Batman, and Batman probably has some gadget, some suit that's going to protect him, and of course Batman does, and kind of smirks, about that. So they also find out that through this little cube and this little crystal that's going to kind of guide them through the city of Kandor, this orb is telling Clark about the history of Kandor, that inside Kandor is part of the Els are still alive, being his mother's sister and his grandmother are alive in Kandor. So Clark is very much wanting to. He has family. He has family that he can now, for the first time, physically talk to and see and speak. So there's that part here that he wants to free them. That somebody inside of Kandor is taking the Kandorian citizens and using them for weaponry. I do not want to make any mention of this. The being that is in here, and somebody can help me on the pronunciation of this. I want to make sure I had it. That it's spelled Doctor. I can't even say it. Doctor XA-DU. Is that Axadu? I almost wanted to say Xanadu, not the Xanadu, not the not the movie. I'm not familiar with him, but he is banished into the Phantom Zone. But he is the one that is telling the Kandorian citizens that Jor-El is the evil mastermind. He is the one that shrunk the city of Kandor. He is the one that caused Krypton to explode, and it's his son that is going to come back and be the death and destruction, so that the Kandorian citizens must rise up against Kal-El and break free from their imprisonment and take over this Earth, and they will have their superpowers. And of course, Clark is telling Supergirl and Batman that this is wrong, that his father was a hero, and this guy, I wish there was like a pronunciation glossary in the back of this, so maybe I'll have to pull out my DC history book and see if I can find out who this is, if this is a creation for the New 52. So I'm kind of looking to maybe you, Stu, Murray, or any of the Superman fans out there that know who this guy is, and his last name is spelled XA-DU. So at the time of shooting the video, I didn't have a chance to Google this. And I kind of wanted to not do that too, as I'm kind of looking at it like, well, this is somebody new for me to read. I didn't read a lot of Superman comics, and that's kind of cool. Another part of doing this show, I'm getting a chance to learn about these characters for the first time, even if they have 75 years worth of history alongside of Superman. I'm learning about them for the very first time. So I am really liking Greg Pak's writing in the Batman and Superman storyline. And Sayaf, S-Y-A-F, the artist in this, his art is just absolutely beautiful in this book. So there is a tower that is generating a lot of energy signatures, and they realize that this is where this guy is operating from. So they realize if they can destroy the bridge, if they can destroy the tower, that they can get the Kandorian citizens not back under control, but get them out of the mind warp and the stasis tubes that they're being put in. And I apologize about this. The Phantom King ends up emerging in the middle of the tower. Again, this is somebody I have no previous knowledge of who the Phantom King is, but obviously Superman and Supergirl both know who the Phantom King is. So I'm assuming it's somebody that has been banished into the Phantom Zone and kind of operates out of there. And he's a very, very large being. And I like that the book was going this way for a while, and this giant splash page runs vertically through the book that makes you turn the comic on its side. So I thought that was a nice, cool art choice. And then the big dun-dun moment that the Phantom King ends up bringing out, and I'll read this last panel here, is this sorcerer type person says, I've got your family and your friends are here, and they're not enough. The living death for everyone. And it is Superman's grandmother and his aunt, his mother's sister, are coming to defeat them. So Batman is kind of fighting something else at the moment, and Kara and Clark are looking at their would-be relatives that they're going to have to fight one-on-one. And there's parts of the Earth Sun are starting to come in through the glass, so they are getting their superpowers. So I'm really liking this Batman and Superman book. I still really miss Jay Lee's art, but I think in the solicitations that Sayaf is going to be the new main writer. So I'm not sure if Jay Lee has something else coming around, or if maybe he's just going to be doing covers from time to time. I'm a little sad to see Jay Lee leave the book, knowing that his action figures from the Batman and Superman comic are coming right out. So that's going to be it for today. Due to my grandfather's health issues, I wasn't able to do the episode last week, so I kind of did a smaller batch of books today, and I'm sure the show ran about an hour just as it did previously. So hopefully you guys are liking this, and going through so many books, I know I'm probably not doing a great as a job of telling you all about all these things in like 7 or 8 issues, but this is going to get me current, that as the show goes weekly and I don't have the giant stack of books, I can talk about single issues and we can do the show that way. So I'm having a blast doing this. Hopefully you guys like this. Let me know what you think about the books that I just talked about. What were some of your favorite parts about it, and maybe what books you're reading. So until next week, and there will be a show next week, we will see you guys on the next episode of Sunday Comic Corner with Rob. See ya. Bye. Hello. Is it me you're looking for?